All right, thanks a lot. Welcome, everybody. It's hot in here, so I hope you're enjoying NOAH. Let me present shortly myself. I'm Alexander Artopé. I co-founded smava, which is a marketplace for personal loans in Germany in 2007. And when I founded this company, we actually, come on, here we go. So we wanted to make one thing, and that is to make credit markets transparent and fair. Because if you think about the classical relationship between a bank and a borrower, it's quite easy. The bank is here, and the borrower normally is here. So the banks have a lot of negotiation power. And what we wanted to do is to change that and to actually make the borrowers more powerful. And how did we want to do that? By empowering borrowers to become really market participants who have all the knowledge about personal loans, to transparency, and someone on their side who's helping them to get the best loan. If you take that mission and fast forward 12 years, we actually have really turned into a very powerful marketplace. Now we're actually brokering more than 2 billion per year in new loan book. So it's really something which is working well. We're now the biggest pure play for personal loans in Germany. How does the marketplace look like? On the one hand, you have banks. Now it's over 25 banks with 60 personal loan offerings. And on the other hand, you have more than 1 million borrowers who took out the loans through smava. The business model that we have is quite simple. For the borrowers, it's completely cost-free. And for the lenders, it's more than 3% of the loan volume that they are originating with us. So it's really simple. If you look at our marketplace, it's a typical two-sided marketplace. The more borrowers we have, the more interested we get for the lenders. And the more lenders we have, the more interested, of course, we get for the borrowers because they got a wider and better offering. What we have been doing very successfully, as you can see on this chart here, is offering cheap loans. The green line is smava. And if you start in 2013, you actually see that we've been quite on par with the market, and we've been actually coming down significantly. So if you take out a loan right now with smava, it's 2% cheaper than the overall market, meaning banks. And that's something we really stay true to our mission, to make personal loans cheap and affordable for borrowers. Also interesting, that gap has been widening in the last 7 years, and the main reason for that is because the bigger we grew, the more purchasing power we got, and the more purchasing power we have, the more we can negotiate with banks special interest rates for consumers, and that's what you actually see here. That's a positive network effect coming into play for the advantage of consumers. Also something where we've been very successful in the last couple of years is that we've been campaigning that online loans are so much cheaper than going to your house bank. One of the most successful campaigns that we actually started was the campaign about the negative interest rate campaigns. I don't know which of you heard about it. Can you probably put up the hands? All right, it's quite some people, so that's really good. We actually started to do this the first time in July 2017, and it was kind of a gag in the beginning, because what we wanted to do is we offer you €1,000, you only have to pay back €994, basically mirroring the ECB penalty rates for the bank. But it really created a lot of traction, and we actually made it to the headline of Bild, which is Germany's biggest tabloid. And as such, of course, it proved to be a really good campaigning instrument for us. As a consequence, we've been repeating this over and over again, and it's still a very important part of our marketing, also to make consumers aware that they can save up 1,000 euro if they take out a loan with smava due to that 2% interest difference. The nice thing about the German market, and a lot of people don't know that, it's a really great market for personal loans. Germans are actually great borrowers. It's really huge. So the new loan book, just for personal unsecured loans, including auto loans but excluding mortgage, is 220 billion new loan book each year. And that's a wonderful market to be in as a company. Because as you all know, the total addressable market does also define at some extent the value of your company. And we have 3 strong drivers for the relevant market of smava that is currently happening. As you also see, the online market is clearly outgrowing the offline market. So the online market is growing with something like 17%, whereas the offline market is growing with something like 5%. And as a consequence, of course, if you look at the volumes, 16 billion new loan book in the online market in 2017 is something, it's not even 10% of the overall loan volume that we're seeing in the German market. If you compare that 10% online penetration with other countries like the UK or Scandinavia, you will see something above 50% online penetration. We also expect that rate to go up to the 50% in Germany. And the reason for that is quite simple, because it's actually a perfect commodity to sell online. Because one loan is like the other, the only difference is the interest rate. The second thing which is driving that market is that 50% of that 16 billion online share are actually brokered by aggregators like smava. And the reason for that is also quite clear. If you go to a bank, you get one offering. If you go to smava, you get like multiple offers. They're cheaper and you get a higher transparency. So there's no reason why you should go to your bank anymore. And the third reason, which is also favoring our overall growth, is that the market is extremely fragmented. So in comparison to other markets like the UK, it's a very fragmented market, meaning no single lender has a really dominant position. And that, of course, makes it easier for us as smava to balance out supply and demand on the marketplace. So if you look at this slide, we actually came a long way in the last 7 years. So we started with 48 million in 2012, and we're now doing more than 2 billion. It's been quite an amazing journey, but it's still the early days, and that's really exciting for me. If you look at this slide, you will see our main competitor. And you will see that 2017 was a transformational year for us, because FinTech, which is the main competitor, was fighting very intensively with us. And in 2017, we overtook them for the first time. And in 2018, we actually were able to increase the delta. It's now more than 50%. So smava is now clearly outgrowing the other players in the personal loan market. If you look at the credit quality of the German borrowers, one thing is also noteworthy and very interesting. If you look at the share of the prime and the near prime borrowers, it's 75% in the US and it's 95% in Germany. That means the German borrowers really have a very high credit quality. And the main reason for taking out a loan is also very different compared to the US. As you know, there's a lot of payday loans in the US. There's a high share of subprime loans. In Germany, most people take out loans for use cases like buying a car, moving into the first apartment and buying the furniture, or for example, buying everything that you need when you get your first child. So it's a very different market with a very high credit quality, which also makes it easier for us as a company to be in that market, and it's really something where a lot of banks also try to be active in. So, to sum it up, we have in the years 2012 to 2018 really shown a very strong growth with a CAGR of nearly 90%. And as all founders will tell you, this is only possible through sweat, blood, and tears, and strong persistence. And it was really an amazing journey, but it was, of course, a long path. But without all that single steps in the years in between, we wouldn't have been able to be where we are right now, like a really good team, a really good product, and a very strong company. 2017 was an amazing year. We did the negative interest rate campaign for the first time. We started our own product together with the Solaris Bank, which some of you might know. And we also snapped up Mobile.de, which is Germany's largest car platform, from another competitor, Check24, because we have the better product. And that was something that in the end really changed a lot for us. And the reward for that was coming through in 2018, where we did our biggest funding round so far. We raised over 65 million from Vitruvian, which is a British private equity fund, and Runa as our existing investor. And that money enabled us to go to the next stage and invest into product and marketing. So the big question is, of course, what's the news in 2019? And I can tell you, we've also been announcing that in the press, that we're currently preparing for an IPO. So that's something we're really excited about. And the best is yet to come for smava. That's pretty clear. So thank you very much.